Hi, I'm Tracy Gray and I'm a yoga therapist, a yoga teacher and Zen Tai Shiatsu practitioner from Brisbane, Australia. In my yoga therapy, I specialise in teaching clients with severe autism and intellectual disabilities. When teaching these clients, and in fact when I teach any clients, I approach it through an ayurvedic lens, so specifically the doshas. In this presentation, I'll outline similarities and differences that I've found in this group of people, and also how teaching this group of people differs from teaching the general population, and also give examples of case studies using this dosha approach. So I've been teaching clients with severe autism and intellectual disabilities on a weekly basis for over 4 years now. I see these clients one-on-one and usually with their carer as well, and often the carer takes an active role in the sessions, which I'll go into a little bit later. Because these clients do have learning difficulties, it's very difficult to teach this cohort in a group setting, I find. So that's why it's really much more beneficial for them and also for me to teach them one-on-one, because they all have different weaknesses, and as you'll see, like I have a different approach to the sessions for each of these clients. So the similarities that they all seem to present with is they have poor core strength, very limited spinal flexibility, often fallen arches and flat feet, and with that the associated poor balance because they haven't developed the muscles in the soles of their feet to help with that balance. And they all have an aversion to the sensation of stretch. So I find in general populations, in general yoga classes that I'm teaching, a lot of people really do like to feel that stretch. These clients don't. Like, you have to really reassure them that feeling that sensation of stretch is actually okay to do. Mentally, they all seem to suffer from anxiety in some way. So particularly they can get anxious whenever the routine is changed, and I find that's why it's important to really do a similar type practice each week and just change little things each time rather than making it completely different each week, because they find that safety and security in things that are familiar. They also get easily distracted, so it's a little bit like teaching children, I find. So you need to keep them engaged and make the sessions fun, and usually these people have some kind of gift as well, so if you can play to that. For example, one of my clients is really gifted at music, and so I'll use music terms and things like that throughout the session as well to really keep him engaged. They can be slow to learn, so you will need quite a bit of patience in the sessions, but I mean, it does pay off. It's very rewarding in the end. And they all tend to be visual and sensory learners. So they need to see what they are doing and also get sensory feedback. So I often use hands-on techniques such as things as like, reach to my hand or push into my hand, just so that they can get that feedback as well. Now, often there's a brain-body disconnect, so they don't know how to engage the muscles that you're wanting them to target. So that's where I use that sensory feedback a lot. So for example, in a general yoga class, if I said flatten your back, most people kind of understand what I'm trying to get across with that, whereas they kind of just don't understand what that means or how to do it. And that's where it is things like reach to my hand or push your foot into my hand, and that's often where I need the carer as well. For example, if you're on hands and knees, reaching out one arm, reaching back the opposite leg, I can't reach both ends, so the carer will be at one end and getting them to reach to their hands, and I'll be getting them to push their foot back into my hands on the other end. Sometimes they just don't get what you're asking them to do, so because that body awareness isn't there, for example, you'll need to find a different way of getting them to engage that same muscle. So if I had them lying prone on their belly, bending their knees and pushing their heels up to the sky, they often don't really understand what that means. So if you flip that position over and get them instead lying on their back doing Setu Bandha or supported bridge, Dvipata Pitham, it's called in some schools as well. So again, you're pushing the feet down into the ground instead and lifting up. So you're still using those muscles in the back, particularly around the glutes, the back of the legs, but it's just been flipped over. And so that's why it's really useful to have a really good understanding of biomechanics as well. So it's finding those positions where we've got obligatory action of the muscles, which means the positions need those muscles to work to do them, rather than just engaging those muscles, which again in a general yoga class you can often get people to do, whereas in this special population, again, I really do need that obligatory activation to get them to activate the muscles that I'd like them to do. So although there are quite a lot of similarities amongst these clients, my teaching approach is very different for each one, depending on their dosha, which is basically their tendency. So I take the ayurvedic approach, determine what their dosha is or what their current imbalance is, and then how do we balance that. So my clients in this population, they're mostly young adult males, so late teens through to early mid-20s. I see them all weekly or twice weekly as well. And so I'll just run through a case study of 3 different clients which have 3 different doshas, and then my approach to how I teach them. So client A is very kapha in body type and also in the mind. So physically, he's got the big solid body shape, which is very kapha. His movements are very robotic. Doesn't like to step diagonally. Normally, he'll work at pretty much 90 degrees, right angles in all movements. He has very limited speech as well, can be quite serious in nature. Again, kapha in the mind, in that once he learns something, he won't forget it. So as they say, a memory of an elephant is that real kapha personality. He's also a very visual learner, as most of them are, but extremely visual. So he will copy exactly what I do, right down to the extent of observing, for example, when I interlace my fingers, he'll observe which thumb have I got on top. Is it that one, or have I interlaced them the other way? So again, that is something that I don't normally see at all in a general population, to be that precise with that visual learning. And so because his tendency is to be quite sedentary, which is that kapha tendency, his yoga therapy is designed to get him moving and also to free up his movement so it's not so robotic. So with him, I always start our practice standing, moving and connecting with the breath. So breathing and just some really simple, gentle movement to get that connection with the breaths to start with. So breath is key in all yoga therapy and in all yoga, and I use it, I start with it with every client, but this one we start standing with that breathing practice. So the postures I choose are also quite energizing postures. So to get him to move, to feel strong. So we do things like squats, warriors, also postures to engage the muscle in the spine. So he tends to work to hold himself and also walk very erect in his spine so that he doesn't have to use any muscles. So if you lean forward, obviously you have to engage the muscles in your back. So I do quite a few postures in our practice where we are leaning forward. So we're engaging the spinal extensor muscles. We'll lean forward, we'll twist, so lots of twists as well. Side flexion, again, something that they're not used to doing generally. So building up flexibility, but also strength in side flexion is also going to help a lot with the balance. I also work with the intrinsic muscles in the feet. So really learning to grip with the toes, again having very flat feet. They're not used to working the muscles in the soles of the feet. So we grip with the toes, and that helps immensely with the balance. And I've seen his balance improve greatly over the last 4 years. It's been really, really encouraging to see. So also fluid movements as well. So because I said his movement is so robotic, then we do circular movements in class, and he does these really well in the yoga session, which is really interesting to see, seeing as that his tendency in normal life is just to move so robotically. Again, if he's following what I'm doing in yoga, it will just flow freely, which is amazing, really. He's not someone that likes to be touched, or even if you knock him accidentally, he'll be offended a little bit by it. And so I encourage him to do some self-massage, so sort of squeezing the thighs and legs, working with a few of the meridian points. We do a little bit of body tapping as well to really get a little bit more sensory input happening as well, which is also really nice. And of course, he really likes his lie down at the end of the session, the relaxation. So I do the relaxation with all of them at the end of the session as well. So now client B. Client B is very Vata. He's tall and lanky. He has lots of movement and quite bouncy, so that's a very air type quality. And so he can sometimes be difficult to keep on the mat. He likes to bounce off a bit and walk away and then come back. He initially presented with back pain as well because he's so tall and lanky, that long spine. It puts a lot of force on the spine, as you would imagine, as you lean over or move that spine. So we've been working a lot on core strength to stabilize and build that strength, just to take any of that back pain away, which it has been relieved greatly ever since we've been doing the sessions, which is about 2 years now. So because he is quite Vata in his dosha, the practice is really to ground and to slow down. And so we start lying down for him and slow the breath. So connecting with our slow belly breathing, and that helps bring him into the present, helps him slow down, helps him concentrate for the sessions. The asanas focus on building core strength and spinal flexibility. So the first few months I kept the practice simply on the floor, so either seated or prone or supine, just because I noticed after the first couple of sessions, if I did standing postures, he had that tendency to kind of bounce off, and then you'd be getting him back onto the mat. And so a lot further down the track now, though, we are now working on standing postures as well, which will help to improve his balance as well as core strength and the flexibility. But we work a lot on the core strength in the supine and the prone, and hands and knees position as well. So your classic yoga therapy positions, hands and knees, extending leg, extending arm, lifting up. So when you're in prone, lifting up into like the Shalabhasana or locust position. So working those, again, the back extensor muscles or the spinal extensor muscles. He has tight hamstrings as well, and does have that aversion to holding a stretch. So often he doesn't like to straighten his legs out and things. And so that's where, again, being hands on the session is really, really useful, giving that sensory feedback. So I'll get him to push his foot into my hand so he can get to that position where that leg can straighten out. And that's really helpful for him. Client C is about a Kapha type person. So there's a lot of earth element, but a lot of air element in there as well. So short, stocky body shape. So that's got the air quality being short. The stocky is the earth element. Very fast in his mind and his thinking, talks very quickly. So again, that's that air element coming in. And so I need to really calm his mind down to start the session. He comes in talking really quickly. So we start again lying on the back and just breathing, connecting with the breath, and often using some favorite normally name that he wants to say with the exhalation to really get him to slow that exhalation down. Again, so this is finding out what their interests are and bringing that into the sessions as well to help keep them engaged. So again, not much body-mind connection, which is kind of similar across the board. So I do use a lot of that sensory feedback in the sessions to get him to engage the muscles I want. So if, say for example, we're lying prone and I say to lift the legs, again, they don't really know how to do that often. So, you know, it's like having your hand on the back of their foot or just the back of their ankle and say, okay, press up into my hand. It gives them more of that sensory feedback, so they have that idea of what you want them to do. And again, I need to bring the carer in to help with these sessions as well. So, for example, for that push into or the extending opposite arm, opposite leg, reach to the carer's hand and push the foot into my hand as well, so we can get that lengthening as we work as well. Yeah, and so the sessions continue to focus on building that core strength, increasing the balance. I can maybe do some standing postures as well. Balance is improved, I find, not only with spinal flexibility and spinal strength, so particularly things in side flexion. So if you lean to the side, you need to be able to right yourself back up again. So firstly, you need enough flexibility to be able to lean to the side without falling over, but also the strength there to right yourself. But again, a lot in the feet as well. So with the flat feet, it's really learning how to use the toes, to grip with the toes. Just as you would imagine a bird's claw coming around a branch, and it's using those toes on the ground as well to help with the balance. And so with all of these clients, just from a business perspective, with each client, there's actually two clients. So we've got the student that I see, but also the client who's the person paying the bills. And in most cases, that's the parent. It's their primary carer. And so I find it's really important to have this good communication with that person who's paying the bills. Let them know what I'm doing in the session and how things are going. Even let them know if there's any things that they can work on at home, any little practices. For example, to help engage using the feet and using the toes. Little exercise you can do is use your toes and pick up cotton wool balls, or, you know, little tiny probably ping pong balls are a little bit big, but if you've got smaller type foam balls or whatever that you can pick up with the toes, or even marbles, pick them up. Again, just suggesting little things like this that they can do with their carers throughout the week in between our sessions that are going to help these things as well. And I found that again, the primary carers for them, or the people who pay the bills, are always really grateful to get the feedback on how the sessions are going and how they can help at home as well. So in summary, teaching for intellectually disabled, and in particular severe autism, it can be very challenging, but it's also very rewarding when you see the difference that these sessions are making to these people. It's just a wonderful feeling. Be patient with any of these clients. So the progress will be slow, but you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. So there will be progress there. I mean, as with anything, sometimes there can be setbacks a little bit, depending on how they're feeling. If they're tired, again, they're not going to have a good day, but that's like everyone. You know. Be creative in the sessions as well. So you might need to find different approaches of how to, again, get them to engage on the muscles that you want. And so that's why it's really important to brush up on your biomechanics if you're not really fluent in that. And make the sessions fun. So again, that helps with keeping them engaged in the sessions. And they all really love doing their yoga therapy, which is great to see. And make sure you communicate well with their primary carer as well. So thank you for watching. If you do have any questions, please post them below, or you feel free to email me at info@tracygrayyoga.com.au. Thank you.